Hello, everybody. My name is Rod Solar. I'm talking to Dr. David Evans, who is the CEO of Ceatus Media Group. Ceatus Media Group are concierge internet marketing services for premier healthcare practices. And I have Dr. Evans here with me to talk to him a little bit about patient reviews. It's a really, really important topic, and it's something that I really want to get into a lot more. And I thought it would be a great idea to have Dr. Evans to talk to us a little bit about what he does and what his views are in regards to patient reviews, and also some interesting tools that he has available through his company that will be able to help doctors and other healthcare providers like you. So welcome to the program, Dr. Evans. Nice to see you.
Hey, nice to see you too, Rod. Enjoyed sharing the panel with you a couple of weeks ago in Copenhagen. Enjoyed your talk and about video, using video and importance of it for converting and attracting new patients. So enjoyed that topic as well. Super.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Just on that note, we were just at ESCRIS, the European Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgeons over in Copenhagen, and there's lots and lots of material up on the blog about that. But we got a chance to meet personally, so we probably should have done that then. But hey, here we are now, and and David, if I can call you David, if that's okay. David is over in California, and I'm here in London, so this is quite transatlantic, so it's really, really quite cool. So, David, the first question I wanted to ask you is about the importance of online reviews and how they relate to healthcare businesses.
Right. Well, that's a really good question. I mean, there's a lot of data out there now about from the Better Business Bureau, for example, in the U.S., and now it's really translating to the rest of the world markets, but particularly for premium healthcare, elective healthcare, where consumers are making a decision to spend their own money. It says that more than 80% of consumers use reviews to make a buying decision. Also, the stars on that are associated reviews now are part of our vocabulary, and people look for stars when they're making a judgment about a practice. So it's becoming extremely important for making those decisions. And of course, Harvard has a now very famous study that showed that depending on whether reviews are trending positive or negative, they can shift revenue by up to 18%. So it can have a big impact on practice revenue. And if I could do a quick little demonstration here. So, if we're on Google, for example, and we'll look for, I'll search the term LASIK surgery Austin. And then, of course, here are the typical ads. And
do you want to share your screen with me, David, so I can see?
Oh, yes. Yeah, let's do that. Reviews are very important for a number of reasons, and one of which is consumers now look for the star ratings when they search online, and a lot of reviews typically mean that the surgeon's is very good. That's how people associate with it. So here's an example of Google. We go in and look for the terms, for example, LASIK surgery Austin. You can see our client here who's incorporated this reviews program, Austin Eye. So all three have stars, but you can see he has 95 reviews on Google, and that gives them a big advantage in the eyes of the consumer when they're looking for a surgeon. So the first step is really to get the star rating, and secondly is to really continue to have a number of reviews so people see you as a credible source. Just like anything else, if you go look at a restaurant and the restaurant doesn't have many reviews, or if the reviews aren't recent, you begin to wonder about the quality of the restaurant, even though the number of reviews may have nothing to do with the quality or recent quality, but that's just how people think. So it's very important from that standpoint.
Can you tell me a little bit about what the difference is between this, for example, and the perception of this, and say like a typical testimonial that somebody would just find on somebody's website, which are ubiquitous? I mean, usually today, most eye centers will have some kind of testimonial on their website where they can share what their patients think about them.
Right. Well, that's a great question, because reviews and testimonials are very different. A review typically consumers look for specific things. They look for a star rating. They want it to be recent. Typically, it's going to come from a third-party website. And that's the key, is that a review is seen as, from a third-party website, is seen kind of something that's been vetted by this other site. Whereas a testimonial, obviously, is something that the doctor asked for directly on the site or directly from a consumer. And although testimonials are very important, and I think it's very important to include them in videos, as you have said many times, I think reviews add another layer of credibility because it comes from a third party. And that's why from Yelp or Google or something that people recognize as a credible source, it just adds that Google credibility to the review, is pretty much what it comes down to.
So isn't it somewhat difficult to get patients to give you online reviews? I mean, doctors are obviously extremely busy, and sometimes they're a little bit reticent to ask people to give them reviews. And when they do, the patients will go away and typically might forget or might not necessarily know how exactly to go about giving you the review in a location that is a third-party source. I mean, they might send you an email, or they might even text you, or even respond to a Facebook page or something like that. So how do you go about actually encouraging people to give doctors reviews?
Yeah, that's another really good question, because it is hard. I wouldn't say it's hard to get reviews, but it does take some diligence by the staff to follow up. And then the key is to have there's a couple things. I think within ophthalmology, actually it's a lot easier to get reviews than, say, other specialties because of the wow factor. And compare that, for example, we do work with plastic surgeons, and it takes 6 months for a facelift patient to be happy with their facelift. So what we recommend is that to try to eliminate the issue with having to follow up with the patient and ask for the review, we recommend 1 day post-op when the patient's really happy with their vision. Then you just say, Mrs. Jones, I'm really pleased about your results for LASIK, for example, or cataract surgery. Glad you had great vision. Would you mind sharing a few of your comments with others so they can learn about the experiences of having LASIK? And a lot of times if people are happy, they're going to say, yeah, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, sure.
And then the second part of your question is, how do you get them to go to the right place? Well, we have a tool where we send them a link right then, and they click on the link, and the link automatically takes the person to the doctor's profile on Google, on Yelp, or the other review sites, so they can just post a review right there on their phone in the office. There's no follow-up, no required, emails to follow up. It's all done, and that's really, really easy to do from that standpoint. It's easy to ask for the review because people are very pleased with their vision, and the link takes them right to the proper place online, so there's no confusion related to where they should go to post. So that's how we found the best way to do it.
Yeah, right. And you find that patients actually do cooperate pretty quickly with that approach?
Yeah, we have found doctors being able to, in a matter of months, being able to double or triple the number of reviews they have online, going from 30 or 40 reviews to over 100 in a matter of months. Patients but I think the key is that first day post-op is when people are the most emotionally tied to their practice, or the happiest about their vision. You give them a week, and they've already forgotten what it was like to wear glasses or contacts. So you got to get them when they're brand new. They have that emotion, and then they're very happy to post a review at that time. It works really well.
Now, most of your experience, no doubt, in collecting reviews from patients or having your doctors collect reviews from patients involve patients in the United States. Do you think that there might be any kind of difference between patients there versus patients elsewhere, like in Europe and the UK? Clearly, we don't have perhaps the same kind of review culture or even sharing culture that we might have in the States. Can you speak to that, or any kind of experience that you found elsewhere that this works?
Yeah, I think that that's another good point. I did quite a bit of research when I did my reviews talk at the ESCRS meeting, and what you see is that in the U.S. there's about 75 different sites online where patients can leave a review about a doctor, and it's much more narrow in Europe. We found mainly 2 or 3 or 4 places online where people are very familiar with. Facebook, for example, is a great place to leave a review. Google, but we found that in most of the major metropolitan areas in Europe, people are leaving reviews. They're not as prolific as it is in the U.S., but they are leaving reviews, and the doctors who are really good at obtaining these reviews have a great competitive advantage because they're the only ones in the market doing it. I find a number of markets where only a handful of doctors had stars next to their name, and of course that gives them a tremendous advantage. So while it's not as prolific in Europe, there are people who will leave reviews, and the doctors who get those reviews have a tremendous advantage.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's like the bit of a wild frontier at the moment for something like this, as it is with many things over here in Europe. And then we kind of look at the States as sort of what's happened and what's been successful there before, and then typically we can bring it over here and implement it here with a head start.
Right.
So what happens if, I'm sure you've heard this question before, I'm sure it won't be surprising to you, but I'm curious about what would happen, say, for example, if you were to ask a patient to leave a review and, horror of horrors, they decide to leave you a negative review. Surely many doctors will have some concern around that. How do you assuage those concerns?
Okay, so that's another great point. I think that a lot of doctors look at reviews really from a negative standpoint because they're worried, I don't want anybody to say anything about me negative online. I want to protect myself. And the reality is if you're a surgeon that does a lot of patients and you have an efficient practice, you're going to get negative reviews. Everybody's not 100%. People have, the receptionist yells at people, one day, or they can't find a parking spot one day. There are things that happen to generate those negative reviews. But I think the important thing is to focus on the positive reviews, and we recommend using a screening tool. And if I might, I'd share my screen and I can kind of show you how that works.
Yeah, sure, please.
Using this screening tool. So the screening tool, the way it would work is, so you see my screen now?
I see it just fine. Yep.
Okay, so the screening tool, the way it works is this is our interface that shows one of our surgeons' review statistics. Okay. And this little link here is Dr. Starr's link, is what we send the patients or our clients send the patients when they want them to leave a review. And the way this works, it has a one-question screening test. It asks one question: how was your experience with Dr. Sanders? And if you answer a 1, 2, or 3, which is what we're afraid of, they're negative, we really don't want them to post a review. So let's say the person gave this Dr. Sanders a 2. What happens is a comment box opens.
Yeah.
So the patient's not sent to a review site. A comment box opens now, and this feedback comes back to the practice. And of course, you can interact from a practice standpoint with the patient, many times stopping them from posting a negative review. So that's the way to kind of what I call a firewall against, or a screening technique to block against getting a negative review. Now, let's say the patient's super happy and they give you a 5, like this. Mm-hmm. Okay, now it asks, click here to leave an online review. So remember, the patient's in the office. It's brand new. They got brand new 20/20 vision, and they're there talking. They're really excited about it, and you ask them to share their comments. They click on this link, and then ask if you're a Yelper in the U.S. It's a very popular site, and the way our system works is really cool. So I'm logged into Google right now. The system sensed that. It took me right to Dr. Sanders' Google profile page to write a review. So all I got to do is type a review into this little box here, click a star, and I'm done. It takes about 30 seconds.
Right.
So that's how it works. So it first screens to protect against a negative review, which is what your point was, and then if they give you if they had a good experience, then it takes them right to the review site.
And I suppose you can send this rating screen. You can send it to them over an email, even automated email. Say, for example, 1 day post-op, so it gets to them right on time. Or perhaps you could even give it to them on an iPad in the office, and they could just type it in there.
Yes, the iPad, the review sites screen the IP address of the people who post reviews. So if too many are given on the same device, like the same iPad in Office, they'll block that. But so we recommend just texting the link to them right on their iPhone. Everybody has a smartphone. Text a link right on their iPhone in the office, and it's done. It's a way everybody uses a different IP address because it's a different phone for everybody, and they just do it right there. And if you don't want to put the link in right one day post-op, you can email it to them afterwards. After the patient has had their surgery, you just email it to them. It does have that one-step screening, so even if you email it to them and you're not in the office with them, if they give you a 1, 2, or 3, it's not going to send them to a review site. So the best way to do it is the 1 day or 2 day post-op when the vision's really great, but you can also email it to them afterwards, email the link, or text it to their cell phone afterwards. That's really easy too.
Right. Can you perhaps show an example of what these reviews look like when they actually end up, we can kind of understand what they look like on the review sites, but can you also embed those into your website if you wanted to share them?
Yes, okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again.
Okay.
And show you, we'll go back to we'll go back to search again for our client in Austin, so LASIK Surgery Austin. And Austin if we go to his website here, okay, you can see this, what we call a little review widget. And what this is doing is it's promoting his reviews on every page of the website. And if you think about converting online, I mean, who knows more about converting online than Amazon? And if you look at Amazon's site, what you'll see is every page of the site has reviews, and they mix the reviews in with product information because they know it converts.
Yeah.
So we recommend the same thing. We use this widget. You pull the reviews, and then you put a little snippet of the reviews on every page, so it gets people intrigued. And then you go to a full page here of the reviews that's on the site, and you can see these reviews are coming from Facebook, from Google, and other places. These are all third-party reviews, again, generating a lot more Health Grades, which is a big review platform in the U.S. And while the testimonies are important, this provides that third-party credibility from a Facebook or Google, because people see those sites with other credibility. So you just pull these reviews right into your site. The feed only publishes 4 or 5-star reviews, so you're only getting the top reviews, and then you can use them right there to promote. And we have found that our conversion rates on these websites have doubled. That is, for the same amount of traffic, doctors are getting twice the number of emails from these pages that have reviews on. So it's really been a very effective way to boost conversion in practice. And if you think about it, that makes sense. If consumers are looking for reviews, that's how they're making a buying decision. If you have great reviews, say on Google, but they have to go over to Google to look at your reviews, and while they're on Google, they may also look at your competitors. Mm-hmm. Much better to keep them on your site, control the message, and that way they convert right there. They come to your site, they learn about LASIK, they learn about laser cataract surgery, they see your reviews, they contact the practice. So it's a pretty straightforward buying process that you now kind of take control of in the process.
Yeah, and I mean we all should recognize that reviews are an excellent example of social proof, which is one of those big influencing principles that really help to persuade people to do things. It's amazing to me sometimes that for right or wrong, people will look at a review and will often take the words of that review at greater heart than, say, statistics or data. They'll actually put more trust into what somebody like them has said.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I mean, Nielsen did a study when they showed that 80% of consumers will give social trust to a review from somebody they don't even know. That's almost as high as a direct word-of-mouth referral, which is actually pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is it comes back to the whole idea of this social trust based on the credibility of these review sites. People recognize Google. They give Google a lot of credibility. So if you have a review on Google, they attach that Google credibility to the doctor's review. It's kind of a crazy world, but that's how it works.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's often better to work with what people already think and how they already operate, as opposed to try to change their minds to help them consider different ways of making decisions necessarily. It's probably better to just go with the flow of what they already do.
If they're looking for reviews and know they're using reviews to make buying decisions, then take advantage of that trend. And particularly in Europe now, where in a lot of major markets, only a handful of surgeons have reviews. It's a perfect time to really build that momentum.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Great. Well, this has been really, really interesting. And one of the things that, just for those of you guys who are watching this, one of the things that David and I talked about a little earlier is that what I want to do is I want to actually test this tool out. And I want to put one of our clients into the review process, see what it does for them, have them engage with it, have them solicit reviews, and see what kind of effect it has on their website, on their conversions, so that we can share this with you guys in the future to help you see what the effects of this kind of tool are. And I hope that, and I trust that the results will be similar to what you've seen. So I'm quite excited about that.
Well, that's great. Yeah, we're very excited about doing the test, and I think it's going to be, like I said, in the U.S., you're battling against 30 other guys in the market that already have reviews. In the U.K. or in the rest of Europe, I think it's going to be a very quick stepping stone to build a profile in the market with the reviews.
Great. That's super. Is there anything else you wanted to add about your thoughts on patient reviews or the tool or anything like that before we sign off?
Yeah, I think one of the things to keep in mind, I think everybody's familiar with Facebook, and people kind of forget that Facebook is actually one of the biggest review platforms out there. There's more reviews on Facebook than almost all the other sites combined. Most people don't realize that. So I think it's important to use Facebook in two ways. One is to try to get your patients to post on Facebook because post a review on Facebook. But also you use the review feed tool to pull reviews into your Facebook timeline. We're always looking for new engaging content to come up with for your Facebook page. So an easy piece of engaging content is a review that another consumer has written about you, and when people engage with that kind of content. So just pull those reviews. In other words, you pull those reviews in Google, you can cut and paste them, or we have an automatic feed that does it, that will pull a Google review right into your timeline on Facebook. That way you kind of get the double benefit. You get the Facebook benefit and you get the review benefit on Google. And of course you post it on your website as well, and now you've got them pretty much, the patients will, where they're going to learn about you, you're hitting them with the reviews, these positive comments about you that we know build social trust. So that's important. Remember Facebook.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Yeah, definitely. I think that, one of the things that I recall discussing at the last conference we attended was that social media really has come of age. And if doctors aren't getting involved in that yet, then they're really starting to fall behind. Maybe a couple of years ago, they were kind of, pioneers. But certainly now, if they're not up there, they're really missing a trick. So absolutely have a Facebook page and, engage your patients to become members of that page and fans of that page, and of course to give you commentary about your services on that page. What could be better than that? It's a great use for it.
Yeah, what could be better than you publishing a 5-star Google review and then one of your followers or friends shares that with another friend that had mentioned they were interested in LASIK or cataract surgery. Now this review is like a fluid social trust floating around from on their followers. So that's a great tool.
Great. Well, David, listen, it was great talking to you, and thanks so much for sharing your views on patient reviews and how they can help practices, and also a little bit of insight into how we can automate this process and make it a little bit more effective, gathering reviews and also sharing reviews and monitoring reviews. That's excellent. Thanks so much for that.
Hey, I enjoyed the conversation. It's always good talking to you.
You too. You take care then.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay.